Hello and welcome. I am the Imperishable. Today we have the lovely Andy on. He has just won the GT at the Square based, the TSN Arena. So we're going to break down his Tomb Kings list, talk about kind of the poison blob, how to use it effectively, and how he played his 5 games. He went 5-0, undefeated, so it's a great achievement. Me and Andy first met at LGT. I was playing Tomb Kings and he was playing Brett, and he absolutely annihilated me because he is just a fantastic player. So, Andy, you say you've never left Tomb Kings, but why did you take Tomb Kings to the TSN this weekend?
Tomb King's have always been my one true love. Very much a Thousand Sons lover from the 40k days. So I just feel Thousand Sunsy in fantasy. But yeah, so it's the first time I got when Old World first dropped, and I started up racking up quite a few models for the army, and it felt right to bring it back out again.
The Tomb Kings box was pretty good. That lovely
Yeah.
big dragon was a great selling point.
Oh yeah.
I've
Oh,
got 2 of them. Got to get my second one painted.
I need a second. Yeah, I need a second. I need a second.
Gotta have 2. Gotta have 2.
Yeah.
So you just talked about 40k. How have you got yourself into fantasy? And as I say, when we played, you were one of the best opponents I've played. How have you got into this kind of competitive, kind of wargaming fantasy kind of thing? What was your route, would you say?
That's a long old question away. But back when I was very young, going to in the days when I used to go to the games workshops in town. I live in Warrington. I made a local one there. That's where I met a lot of my friends, and we all used to play fantasy originally back then. It was like the game, because I think everyone back then just loved old fantasy stuff before the futuristic
Yeah.
things. I think that was when you got a little bit older. You like to appreciate the sci-fi. Yeah, we played fantasy way back in the day. I played a lot of Skaven and things like that back then
Ooh, a
because
rat man.
rats are cool, right?
They are cool.
And then over the years changed over. Fantasy obviously died off, and I transitioned over to 40k for quite some time. And then when the 40k edition changed, 10th edition hit, I'd slowly start really kind of playing anyway. Start to play Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Uh,
I've just got commissioned Gondor Army for the new edition.
I
I
mean,
cannot wait,
yeah, the
mate.
edition's out. Yeah.
I've got all 3 books. I've been staring at them. Oh,
Well, that is a perfect tournament game. It was. I'm not seen the new rules just yet, though. I've got the books for Christmas. But the old last edition was really solid, very balanced game, really good tournament game. But anyway, so yeah, I transitioned playing that, and then when the new fantasy dropped, Old World, I was like, it's time to go back to get the old,
the roots.
goes back the old roots and get all those nostalgic feels hitting home. And then a few of my friends, obviously, news back in the day that played it, started to play again as well. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did that. So I'd say I'm a Tomb Kings player from when I was like 13, and I got like the necklace things, the Tomb Guard, and then obviously I didn't play it kind of thing, and then they came back. I was like, oh, I've got to play Tomb Kings. Got to get that dragon. I love the Legion of just shitty skeletons who can just do what they want, kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's a big nostalgia hit, and I think a lot of players who've came back have played before or played them when they were younger, and they're like, this just
Yeah,
reminds me of my childhood. Because I remember playing when we were learning the rules. We were playing every Wednesday after school because me and my mate were both teachers, and we were like, it feels like we were like kids again. It was just amazing.
yeah,
Every rule, we were like, is this how you do it? Is this how you do it? It's just fantastic. But I think that's works wonders for GW on that front.
yeah. Get the castle sets out and stuff like
Oh
that,
god,
right?
yeah. I have the old little wall thing that we played with
Yeah,
once. It's
it's worth
great.
about £1,000 that nowadays. I think that old thing.
Hopefully they'll release the real thing again. They should do. Okay, so that's Andy. Great to have a little chat to introduce himself. He is also on his own kind of podcast channel, the Old World Show. So link will be in description. I think he's already talked about his GT success there, so you can see another kind of him chatting about it more and more. Okay, we are now going to go on to his list, describe why he's chosen certain things, and then we'll have a look at these 5 games, and then kind of look to the what changes would he look to make, what's on the chopping block, and what does he need to do. So this is Andy's list. He's took the Mortuary Cult. I think probably the more competitive way of playing Tomb Kings right now. Just going to make sure you can get all your cast offs, the +8s and whatnot, because it's really, really strong. So Andy starts off, from what I can gather, you've kind of got the normal, what I've seen most people running, 3 level 4s and a level 2. But what what kind of spell laws that you go for and why?
So I've gone for one of the level 4s with illusion. He's going to go for the law familiar and the serpent staff. Now, the law familiar, obviously, because the illusion tree is you're only taking one with illusion, and you just need those specific spells.
Yes.
You want miasma, column of crystal, glittering robe, and then I like the doppelganger. I never used it this weekend with the serpent
just
staff,
in case.
It's a just in case piece that usually when someone hits the block of skeletons, which you can see at the bottom, it's the point where you're bailing the characters out anyway. But if there's a point where you're going to have him in the block, you're going to have the glittering robe up for the -1, you're going to have the casket for the -1, so it's tough to hit. You're probably going to be reformed out quite large on the frontage of the skeletons, and he's right at the end, and he can just cast his assailant and hit you with a 2d6 strength 5 AP2 attacks. It's just an insurance piece. I don't know if I'd keep it, but I liked that I had it, as it were.
Yeah, because I when I saw the serpent star on foot, I was like, it's a bit an odd choice, but you make a very valid point. Because if he's on the end of the block, he hasn't been hit, you can still cast the assailant spell, and it's just 2d6 hits. So you still get potentially like on average 7 hits. Obviously with Colt, you're gonna get your spells off because you just make sure you do, kind of thing. But that's a great piece. I would not have thought about giving a foot wizard an actual weapon for Spectral Doppelganger. I've just always presumed it's just dead if he's in combat. So that's something I'd probably look to nick now. That's great.
Usually, I will be honest. Usually, if it's a point where something's hitting that unit, it's because I'm accepting its death. You want to delay that as many turns as possible, obviously, from happening, so that they can slowly ground down. But if the game is in that state where it's necessary, he can be in that unit with the -1 to 2 to hit. It's obviously quite hard to hit those Weapon Skill 2 skeletons at that point, and people aren't going to be churning through them that quickly. And then he can help with the combat res as well. But it's the same because it's the guy on the dragon effectively, right? Just without a dragon.
Yeah.
So, it's nice. But so he's there. I wouldn't. Well, I'll talk about the changes later. But then, so I got 2 level 4s. One's the general who has the earthing rod and the ruby ring. Earthing rod, fantastic.
Always just that one. You'll get that double one. Just
you get a lot of double ones because you're casting a ton of spells. And obviously, one of the worst things you can have happen is that your magic phase ends. So the other one helps you re-roll to get the 1 to 6 or 1 to 7 rolls where the magic phase doesn't end. So if you're on 8+ and the magic phase is over, yes, you get your spell off usually on like Irresistible Force, whatever. But I'd still re-roll it to try and make sure the magic phase can continue. So I tend to cast all my spells with him first, unless I need my miasma off, in which case miasma will be the first thing I cast.
It has to be,
yeah, it has to be the first, because if it's going to miscast and I'm going to roll 8+ on the miscast table there, I'm happy that at least miasma has gone off, because it's probably going to be important if he's casting it at that point.
It's that spell order is key. You've got to make sure
spell is key.
Because if you don't get miasma off and you need it to, it means something's going to charge you right there, and it's not a good place.
So Earthen Rod for 5 points. I wish it was a super common item I could take on everybody.
I really wish it was, because all of them will have one. Like it's painful that it's not.
And but the level 4, another level 4 is Naked on Elementalism. Again, just trying to get. There's so many good spells in that tree for this army anyway. They're all
Plague or Else, Treble, Mr. Pathway, Wind Blast.
Wind Blast. I love Wind Blast. I wish I could
get that on everyone. It's just really powerful. Yeah.
So good. Again, it helps with the control element of this army where you're pushing people away, / TMPing, and then double wind blasting people off the board, stuff like that. And then the level 1 BSB, he's an elementalist as well. I mean, I always defaulted to a
reroll ones.
Reroll ones. But you roll it anyway just to see. Do I roll a 6? Yeah, I'll swap anyway.
For me, I would probably be Plague of Rust just in case. I'm like, God, I want to make sure. Like, if my other 2 haven't, I'm like, come on, get that 1 Plague of Rust. But yeah, it's just there for, as you say, your BSB. We need it in the Tombkins army. Just re-rolling is just phenomenal. So that's our characters. Really strong kind of list. Quite a lot of points, 705 points. But I think they're great choices. I really do like the kind of the illusion with the weapon on foot just as an insurance piece. But I'd say I'm seeing this a lot of moving away from necromancy to elementalism, just to get off the AP -2, jump about where you want to be and just shooting freely.
That's it. It's great. It's got so much to it, the elementalism. So
yeah, so into your core. something before we start off, something I'm seeing quite a lot and what people are doing, and I didn't really see the reason why, is ambushes on your tomb swarms, because obviously it gets rid of a drop, and you don't need them until turn 1 anyway when you bring them in, so you might as well, you've got a leash bait rerollable, bring it in, so I think this is phenomenal. I have nicked this now on every list. I was like, what was the point? I need them at the start, but you just bring them in.
They're there at the start. That's the first thing they
Yeah.
do. It's also on the Scouts and Skirmish unit as well, so
Yeah.
just to try and get it down to lower the drops. But if you needed those points for something, sure, you could drop it. But it's nice again to have it to make it part of the combo army. So
Yeah. And then obviously the big bad, the 50 skeleton archers. This is where the list begins, really.
yeah, they're the center of the army, really. They don't do as much damage as you think at all against big things, but they do enough. And especially if you get to combo it with other elements like Plague of Rust and stuff like that, and rerolling the ones to hit, then against large targets that aren't 2 up, 5 up, 5 up, they do hurt. They don't wipe a big creature out in a turn. Maybe a gigantic spawn they might, but usually they don't. But they do enough, and they're also just a big bunker piece. They are the units to fan out and take a charge to block the rest of your army from getting hit. They're not super expensive at all. 265 points is not a lot compared to what it could be. So yeah, I love the 50 block.
And the core.
Won't go less than 50. And the core. Yeah.
This all core attacks. I don't think the Tomb Kings, either of the armies, any of the three, have really got attacks. Really, they're all really good.
No, none of those things are attacks. No.
And then you've got obviously 5 bow shabdi. If you take your shabdi without a bow, you're playing it wrong. Simple as. They're just the best bolt throwers in the game. So reliable and they're just there. They'll get your damage throughout the game. They'll make up their points, and even if they get charged, they just don't die straight away. Because they've got okay save. They've got 3 wounds. They actually hit back okay because they're AP -1 anyway.
Yeah, a lot of attacks, a lot of wounds. You best go 4, obviously.
And if one lives, you just bring them all back.
And you can literally in this list bring them all back if one lives, yeah. Even on a wound.
And then my favourite unit in the entire game, Scarce and Horse Archers. I think they're the best thing in the game, personally.
Can't live in without them.
I've got the Welsh Open coming up, and I'm looking to run, I think, 14 of them, 2 units of 7.
Like, was it 40?
40? No, I wish, mate. I don't own that many models. It's just obviously reserve moves, skirmishers. You shoot 8 and you run away. You can block a wood and come out on fire still. It's just, they're a great piece. They're such an annoyance. They're great march blockers. If you scout behind, someone leaves that spot out. So if you're versus Dwarves and you're getting that behind turn 1, you potentially block that mark. I know they're high leadership, but you could really slow them down.
Most of the time those Dwarfs are drilled, so they ignore that. But what you can do is...
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, drilled ignores march lot. But if people stay in drilled formation, double drill forward, what they're good for is doing the horseshoe around the front of them, so they can't redress the ranks and charge you, so it keeps them locked. A lot of people, I think people now will start to see that and not do that play, but that then slows them down massively because they have to, on their second move, drill out
before they go out again,
and they're not an inch away from you at that point. So they're massive for that. So there's 2 things there. One, they either don't see that play and it happens, and you stop them, and then you have to either turn the unit so they're facing the other way, and then that way their ranks are done. That loses them a turn again, or they think, oh, I'll just move backwards, and you go, and they just. Or they have to redress the ranks earlier on, halfway the board, and then they're 4 inches
further away, kind of thing. Yeah.
Which 4 inches is that's fine for you, that, because you've got the the move and the reserve move backwards. So yeah, the really good piece. Those Scotland Horse Archers.
Yeah, and then into our special Tomb Scorpions that we have to take. It's such a tax that you have to take Tomb Scorpions.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it if we could get away with it.
I think they're quite nice pieces, just because everyone's just scared of them. It's more a psychological piece, in my opinion. Everyone's like, it's got a Monster Slayer. It's never going to go off. I've never had it. But everyone's scared of going into them. But something I've seen you've done is put on the terrace below. So I'm a big fan of this on Tomb Scorpions, because your first is stuff that has lone characters out, especially in the mirror match with someone who's wearing the Cloak of Dunes, Snipe the Hierophant. There's little things like that. For 2 points, as just a versus a certain matchup could get you like 200 points. It's not a bad deal.
It'll punish an early game misplay from somebody who's aggressive with something that has no right to be aggressive. But also, I mean, Yeah, that's really. Most of the time, I've never actually used it. I've never had the chance or opportunity where it presents itself to use it, but it's nice that it's there for 4 points. It's fine.
Yeah. And then another unit of Bow Shabdi. I love to see it. I do love 2 units. They're just so reliable. And then a casket, the single casket. And I remember when we chatted about this back at LGT, you're like, you've got to go for the double casket. One casket's pointless. But now that I've seen a lot of tournaments are playing that, you can't shoot cannons through woods or shoot through hills kind of things. You're using it solely for a +1 to cast and a -1 to hit. You're not using it as an offensive piece. It's more of just that buffing. As you said, with that skeleton archer blob, if it's got glittering robe and this, it's at -2 to hit. I know we're weapon skill too, but even like top stuff is hitting on 4s.
Yep.
Normal stuff hitting you on 5s, and it's like you're not going to kill enough probably. It can be really useful that.
Yeah, and if you're not going to the necromancy leadership bomb list, then 1 is fine. They're the thing that people go for and try and kill with their artillery anyway, because it's like 135 points, not quite 150 for them to get that win on it. If you get 0 points, from them, set yourself. It's the one thing people keep going for. Having 1 is fine. I'm toying around with actually dropping it completely, because it seems like the liability in the list almost. As weird as that sounds.
So for my Welsh Open, where it's a bit more like mission play, I don't have a casket just because I'm playing very much up front, and I'm like, I'm gonna get hit, and I'd say they're just gonna target it down probably already. So it's just meant I've got another Necrosphinx in basically.
Well, you're playing an aggressive list there, aren't you?
Yes.
Whereas this is a sit back and play a control game kind of list where you're going to be centered around this casket in this version. So yeah, in your version, there's literally no point in casket.
But no. So this is a great list. I'd say this is probably where I've been looking at going as well. Double you Shabdi block, a big unit of skeleton archers seems to be kind of the rage. Poison and Plague of Rust is just such a good combo that we are very much always going to get off. I think our worst opponent is either a dwarf who wants to use up his root of spellbreaking, which is fine because you have got it twice and then you Miles Mirage and you win the game anyway. Yeah. Or it's the Infernal Puppet, which I still think is the biggest counter to Tomb Kings, just because just the double 1s, just the more chance of getting a double 1. That's it.
Earthen Rod.
You can only have 1 though. Single use. So that's the list. Sorry, go on.
I'm sorry.
All I was going to say, that's the list. Really great breakdown. We're now going to have a look at his games, starting off with the first game versus Warriors of Chaos. Okay, game 1 versus Warriors of Chaos. From the looks of it, it's got a dragon and it's got a sorcerer lord. It's kind of what you're seeing. It's what won at the Esport Online, so maybe they've just tried to copy his list there. So on this dragon, it's a Brazen Collar, so -2 magic resist, a healing potion, so he's going for the more survivable rather than killy. Crown of Everlasting Conquest, a regen, Enchanting Aura, fight last. Poison Slime, gives him his attacks poison. 15 points for 5. Oof, I don't know how I feel about that. Sorcerer Lord of Siege with Ruby Ring, Spell Familiar, Infernal Puppet, Battle Magic, so it's just mass spells. Core, we've got some Marauders, Forsaken, which are brilliant. I do love Forsaken. They're in my Warriors of Chaos list for the Welsh Open. I've got 28 of them at the moment. I'm looking to get more in. Some Chaos Knights who just hit hard. Marauder Horseman. 2 solo Dragon Ogres. I've seen this a bit. I'm confused by this personally, because I've never played against it. And then 2 Spawns. So, what was your plan going into this? What was your I need to get rid of this? Obviously, you say you're more this control, so you want to sit back more. But how did it go? What was your rough plan, and did it go to plan?
So I think Chaos in general, one of the hardest matchups for Mortrical, not just because of the puppet, but mostly because of the puppet. It's because they can have a lot of aggressive units that move fairly fast. So Dragon Ogres obviously barreling in, the Chaos Lord, which is the strongest dragon Lord, can be super unkillable.
Yeah.
And he, more often than not, they take the battle magic, so they get the arcane entrancy, so he's really in your face straight away. And then all their units tend to have the Forsaken, where they have lots of attacks, and that'll grind through a blob super quick. That
will, won't it?
Yeah. So for this, I was like, oh, this is a lot of scary things that are moving fast, but also there is 2 gigantic spawns, nice large targets with a poison block to try and get rid of quickly. But the Chaos Lord is very hard to kill. So I was praying for Plague of Rust at that point. Or I have to just have him get him in a miasma lock, and he sits there and doesn't do anything, whilst I try and kill the rest of the army, deal with the rest of the stuff. Depending on what the puppet does on the miscasts during the game, that can foil a few plans. So it was a tough army to play against to begin with, and
very tough game on this. So how did it go? Did you bring down the Chaos Lords? Did you?
Yeah. So funny enough, he's really nice chap. This guy, he was just like, I'm just going to literally deploy opposite you here, and I'm going to go straight at you, right down the middle. I was like, damn. I was like, I want you to skate around the edge. No, I was like, that's not the opposite of what I want you to do. I thought you were going to skate around the terrain, come around the side, trying to avoid some shooting, but no, he literally just went right down the middle. And so I think I went first, and I just moved forward slightly. I thought, let's fire some one shots off here at what I could get in range of without needing to be out of position. So I shot a bunch of stuff at the Chaos Lord, because he was literally the thing that was opposite me. The spawns and stuff actually at the side, a little bit further over. But I didn't want to present much of I didn't want to undo my castle, as it were, too much. So I shot him with a bunch of stuff, and I managed to get 3 wounds through. I was like, wow, okay, through his
take that, mate. Triple save.
Yeah, I'll take that. He then healing potioned his go and healed all 3 wounds back though. So,
but he juiced it up though. It's done. It's one and done.
Well, I thought, I was like, wow, this is what a taste of my medicine's like, using Khemri and healing lane units. I was like, this is sour.
Cheaters, mate, a lot of them.
Yeah. But anyway, he then moved forward, but he literally just full went at me, which meant that my priest, a priest could miasma him, and keep him locked there. So against some armies, depending on the matchup, I put the illusion priest in the skeleton skirmisher unit, 1 for protection, and 2 so he's got the line of sight.
Yeah.
And then he will sit behind or at the side slightly of the block behind some Shapti, and then out of line of sight so he can't get magic missiled and easily kill the 8 skirmishers that are sat babysitting him. And so he was in a position where he could then keep him miasma locked no matter where he was going, unless he was going backwards, which is again fine.
Yeah.
And then he was stuck there. Then he swooped around stuff from the sides, but it got to a situation where I was just peppering away at units here and there, doing wounds. But I could drop down a Column Crystal, which would stop one of those Shard attacks, one of the Dragon Ogre Shard attacks from charging, as well as the Forsaken. So that was those stopping them as charging into my brick. And then it allowed one of his Dragon Ogres to charge my brick, which I shot an Overwatch. And then I think I went down to like 1 wound or something. And then I just luckily killed it in combat.
Yeah.
Before it swung. And then that allowed me then just to try and piecemeal everything off. I also then decided to shoot the Chaos Lord after dealing with the big thing.
Else,
and Plague of Rust, and it took a few turns to get him down. And what eventually was left was his Marauder block with his Sorcerer that was in the midfield, and that's how it ended.
All right.
But it was tough, and it was a tough army to try and chew through stats wise. A very, very big stat check army for that purpose.
I was going to say it's very much there's 22 wounds of T6. Say Chaos Lord has that healing potion, so for you it was 13 wounds. Sorcerer Lord Infernal Puppet, it's so hard because you just don't want to miscast. Yeah. You've got to do everything perfect. You've got to think, do I need this spell? I can live without it.
Yeah, the big part is actually not just casting. It's like just casting. Earthen ramparts and stuff like that, where it's just not necessary at all. You kind of really cut back on what spells you actually cast, and you just cast the necessary ones, and it does change the way you have to play it. Yeah, you have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah. So this was an 18-2 win, I think you said earlier.
Yeah, that turned into an 18-2 in the end, and it was a lovely chat to play as well for the first round. It was a nice game. I enjoyed it.
Lovely. So a lovely first win versus the Warriors of Chaos with Dragon, Infernal Puppet, things we hate to see. Yeah. But now we are on to Dowie After Dark. Let's have a look at Richie's army. So Richie, the dwarf himself, he loves it all. He has brought what looks like a royal clan. He didn't get enough time to get his, Flight of the Valkyries finished. He's only just printed all 20, 30 of them, whatever it is. So in this list, I'd say it's Royal Clan. It's got the Anvil of Doom with the Rune of Adamant and the Rune of Cleaving. So I know the Rune of Adamant gives it T10, so he's basically unkillable. And it's 350 points, so it's massive points denial. A Rune Smith will triple spell breaking, and it's his BSB because it can be in the Royal Clan. So he's got Master Rune of Grumney and Rune of Battle for obviously the 5-up wall for his unit and 6-up for anything around. He's got a King, Shield Bearers, Rune of Smiting, so that D6 damage. Master Rune of Grumroll, so that's a 2-up save, I believe, the Master Rune of Grumroll. Rune of Preservation, can't be hurt. And the Rune of the Furnace. What's Rune of Furnace do?
Is that 3+ ward against flaming attacks, I think?
Oh, God, that's naughty if it comes up kind of thing. I know there's not a lot of flaming attacks.
Dead cheap as well, I think.
Yeah, so he's got, I would say, 2 pretty unkillable things and a Rune Smith that is just buffing up his piece. He's got his lovely famous Longbeard unit. So 28 Longbeards, drilled. He's got the Stroller's Rune, Rune of Courage, and Rune of Battle. So it's vanguarding. So this is the lovely, I can go 27 inches against you, turn 1. I held that first time and I was like, I did not know this is what will happen with Dwarf because I deployed on the line nearly enough. I was like, you can't charge me for 2 turns, I'll be fine. And then he was in front of me. I was like, oh. Dwarf cut, his trusty Grudge Thrower, because he loves it, sniping things out, and then his big block of Iron Drakes with Drilled, Triumph, Torpedo, Cinnaburst Bombs, and the Rune of Courage. So it's a really good, it's just 2 big blocks. How he plays it, he just comes at you, forces the issue in front of you, and it's just, if you can deal with it, great. If you can't, I win, basically. So you said,
very efficient list.
Yeah, you said to me you played a Mountain Pass, which is probably the best mission for you against this. Because if he's coming at you, you can keep walking back. So how did it go? How was it versus Richie?
Yeah, it's a tough one. This so he didn't like the fact that it was Mountain Pass because of the extra room I'd have backwards behind me, which played a big role in this one. So he went. I went first, which I really didn't want because it just. I think I went first actually. I'm pretty sure I went first, but it was just a null turn. I fired a Shapti off at nothing. I don't think I did anything. But then in his go, he barreled the blob, the 27 inches, 24 because he pre-game with 24 inches forward. But he failed to cast the +1 armor and reroll armor save on the Longbeard.
That's good. Because they don't have Grumroll armor either, do they?
No, they have heavy armor shields. Yeah, so they're on a 4-up.
4-up.
They don't get the real 1s naturally.
Yeah. So with Plague of Rust, they're on 6s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I wasn't in Plague of Rust range though. I don't think from this. But I did. So I did get because he was on one side when he came down, and my blob was on the diagonal other side at this point. So when I shot at him, I had to move forward with the blob, and I got to shoot the 10 of Shapti and like the front rank of like 8 bows or something like that. But I did kill like 7 dwarves, which is a lot of dwarves.
It's a lot. You can't bring them back like we can. So
yeah, and that was with not much shooting. 5 skeleton horsemen and stuff like that. It wasn't a lot of shooting, but I still killed 7, which is big. Then I just shuffled about preparing for what was to come. I had my skeleton horse archers behind the house that he was next to, for if he double drilled forward, I can do the horseshoe shape. So then in his go, he double move forward, Spellbreakers the miasma, things like that, and then he's right near my Shapti, which he's going to charge, and I haven't got the room then to put down a column of crystal at a good angle, so I'm going to have to TMP that unit out. But he then use my skeleton horseman to create the horseshoe. So I moved the skeleton horses over, and we were chatting a bit about how far back I could get, because I had the board edge behind me a little bit, so I couldn't get the full. Couldn't move back 2.5 and then move back again and reserve me 2.5. Because I'd hit the board edge, so it wasn't quite enough just to get out of his natural charge range without his cart there. So if you kill his cart, it'd only be a 9-inch charge max. And then we started setting all this up, and then he goes, actually, he said, I'm not in drilled formation, I'm not in marching column anymore. You killed too many dwarves. And I was just like, oh no. Oh no!
You killed too
But
many dwarfs.
I killed it. But it did mean that you had to move back 4 inches. So
Ah.
So that gave me a little bit of breathing room, and that did then make it a 6 inch charge to the Shakti. So anyway, on this turn where he was about to charge me, sorry. So this turn was important because I failed to cast miasma. That was it. Because his -2. Can you believe that a mortuary cult priest can fail a spell? But I rolled
Shocking.
I rolled a 12 with all the pluses. And with his -2, it made a 10. Now, naturally, you're like, you don't even look at the casting values usually. Like, yeah, it goes off. I'm casting a +8. And he says, actually, isn't it 11 to cast? And I was like, it is actually, yes. Oh, bugger. So it didn't go off. So that
You
meant
rolled a
then,
4 on the dice. You needed a
yeah,
5, mate. That's
yeah.
so bad.
And so I was like, right, I can call him a crystal, but you're going to spellbreaker that. So, oh dear. So it left him to a 6 inch charge at this point. I killed a bunch more dwarves, I think, with the shooting. They did get plague arrested this time, and killed a bunch there. So it was his turn, and then right 6 inch charge time. He rolls a 5. I was like, oh, because what would have happened? He'd killed his Shakti. I imagine he'd have run off the board to avoid
Yeah,
getting shot.
just to get in the points denial.
Yeah. If he'd stayed on the board, that'd have been great for me. It would have allowed me to, just to keep peppering them, keep rusting them, keep illusioning them, etc. But at this point, my block of skeletons had gone wider and wider and wider with all the moves and reserve moves. So I just had a big frontline shooting game to maximize the amount of damage I could do. I had like a wind blast of stuff in there as well. And yeah, he fed that charge, which then that was him miasma lock then, unless I rolled 4 again. But because he'd used all the spellbreaker runes, I was in a position where I
It's
could
just
just put
free
down.
reign then, isn't it?
Yeah, free range. So I surrounded him with the unit skeleton skirmishers and the archers, just as insurance. And then I just kept him miasma, kept him plague rusted, kept him where he was. He got moved, and then just kept raining down arrows at him, and just slowly over the turns got him down to just this king, who I think was on 3 wounds at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The other part of his stuff, he kept trying to bombard the casket, but he either failed to wound, I saved it, or he scattered off.
Yeah.
And then his Iron Drakes don't really do a lot to the Tomb Kings unless he gets to shoot like the casket or something, or a Tomb Scorpion, which I just didn't use at all in the game. There's no way I was going to put him on the back of his board trying to go for him, because
Could have casket below. Could have killed his king. Could have killed his king.
Well, I was never going to get my priest in range to summon the Scorpion nearby. But so the game went on that way. It ended up being a 14-6 in the end, because the long game. Yeah, I was happy trying to get them below 25% to just take it as a 11-9 or 12-8.
Yeah, just get it close.
The 200, so like 11-9. I think knowing that he probably wasn't going to get many points, I may try and kill the cart as well to help keep that at that point if he killed my casket. But ended up being able to keep him trapped.
So 2 tough games, I'd say, to start with. Obviously, Dwarfs, I think it's an okay matchup, but it's just certain roles going their way or your way could really swing it. So game 3, you have a poison off. You've got the original poison block that was talked about. Let's see who won better. So we have an Orcs and Goblins. Okay, we have a Goblin War Boss on a Wolf Chariot, Troller Chariot, Armor Meteoric Iron, and the Thinking Orcs hat. So this is a guy with a 5+5+. Can't really change it. We've got a Night Goblin Big Boss with the BSB, a Night Goblin Odd Knob, a Ruby Ring, Fungus Wine. No idea what that does. With more magic.
Into psychology for a turn.
He's got another Night Goblin Obnob with Idol of Gork, Wild Magic, and another Fungus Wine. Idol of Gork is +3 Dispel. I think it's +3 Dispel, because Idol of Mork is -1 to hit. Or is that Effigy of Mork?
I can't remember which one. Yeah.
It's the +3 to either cast or Dispel. And then a Orc Weird Knob, level 4, Lore Familiar, Power Scroll, Glowing Green Amulet, and Elementalism. So this is their Tragical Mystical Pathways. So, for not being a mortuary cult, they've got 12 levels of wizardry. They're trying to do us, but they don't get a +8. So,
No.
you know. So that's the characters. Into their core, or the rest of it's not a lot left, is 87 Night Goblins. It has 3 fanatics, a standard barrier with a spider banner, so for poison. Another 30 goblin mob with just hand weapon shields. I presume that's just more of a fanatic kind of bunker. And then 3 units of squig hoppers, 1, 6, 2, 5s. They're just, I guess, just be a bit of a nuisance, pain, chaff clearers. And then 2 doom diver catapults. So obviously ping off caskets, ping off other artillery, maybe take some wounds off a big creature. So obviously this list is basically just the Tomb Kings, but Goblin version with their big kind of poison banner. How did it go? What was the differences? Which poison won?
So this was open battle, this one, and we had the map where you had a hill in your deployment zone and the house in your deployment zone on the corner. So he hid his doom divers behind the house, and then set the rest of the stuff up in the middle. He didn't leave any easy stuff to kill, so he hid all his squigs and stuff behind, because he knew as well. He was a good player. He knew as well that it was just going to be a standoff, and it was either going to be like a draw, or if he can pick something up with his doom divers, which he's got a good chance of doing, and he was comfortable with that. He got first turn and he teleported into the middle, so he took the center to start with, which was good for him. And then he started just trying to barrel me with the doom divers. Now, Nicholas is his name. He managed to misfire every single turn with one of the doom divers, and every single time rolled a 3, which is can't shoot next turn and take a wound. So literally every turn he was swapping these. I was like, you keep this up and one of these is going to die. Eventually. And they also managed to, unfortunately, just literally just do nothing. It was insane. Even with that doom.
Really? The D3 action, your choice, so the more reliable stone thrower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't want to give any easy kills, so I kept the scorpions away. I ended up putting them in my corner, over 60 away from him, so he couldn't doom dive them, and then just let him keep going for the casket. And the only way out I had to start with was with the horse archers. So I put them mid board behind a forest, and then I moved them over towards his house where he'd left the path down the side, so I could then shoot his doom diver with 5 archers.
5 shots.
Well, eventually the idea was to try and charge them.
Yes.
And either lock them up and or kill them, because the horses eventually will, not that they're great in combat, but they're better than
a goblin.
Yeah. And he then saw this and then moved his squig hoppers over, so then that allowed me then just to shoot his squig hoppers, which I could grind away and kill. And anyway, this went on for the turns, and as he'd lose a few squigs here and there, he'd then move them back and replace them, and so on and so on. But eventually he was getting a bit worried here. He's like, actually, I can't sustain that. So he decided, I think, turn 4 to teleport over his big block to the side of the table, over 2 inches away, because I had a wind blast, and then face his bum to me, and then shoot these horse archers. But unfortunately, his path wasn't massive, so he couldn't get many hits in at all with his bows. Obviously, wasn't getting able to volley fire. It was just going to be a front rank of like maybe 10 shots plus a spell.
Yeah.
But his spell was good. It was in dispel range of my guy, so I think I maybe dispelled it, or he rolled super rubbish. But then he shot me as well. But in the end, he killed 4 horse archers. There's 1 left, and even 1 is scary, right? For the
just annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's 2 things happening here. 1, there's an archer left, and 2, it let me teleport into the middle of the table. Now, when he deployed, and I was looking at his list, I was like, the only things I can really pick up here, or if I get lucky with that play happening, or this unit of 30 night goblins with the fanatics, that's enough points for me to get a win if we're looking at a draw situation. So I was like, I need to go for those. Let's see how he plays them. So he played them fairly aggressively to try and get the fanatics out, which allowed me to then shoot them for a couple of turns with my block, which was on a hill. I've got the range over him as well. And then 10 of Shapti, which feels silly firing a Shapti into goblins, but that's the thing I needed to kill.
Yeah.
And I got them down to 12 guys. He released his fanatics, which all just, again, either didn't do much or just epically killed themselves.
Oh.
And but the Fanatics aren't great in this game, in this matchup, and he knew that they weren't going to do a lot. There was no good targets for them. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do, and what they're there for the defensive of the Chargers. But because I teleported my unit over and put it at an angle, it allowed me to then blast my front rank and my wind blast and my ruby ring at the goblins and finish the 12 off with the Shapti as well. So that was the point secured there, which is big. And then he was out of position a little bit with his big blob, and he was down by points, so he was then going to struggle to get the points he needed to. And also, I think which was a bit of a downfall is that the Fanatics being scattered all over the side of the board where he was meant that I don't know how this would work really, but I don't think he could really teleport on top of his Fanatic with a TMP. I'm not sure. We didn't discuss it. He didn't ask, but I was looking at it, and then it was something I was thinking of. I was like, I wonder if that's stopping him from doing that and going further back to my back part of my board edge.
Yeah.
To be able to then go down and look and try and make a move for my casket. He would be quite far away from my casket because I had the Shapti over there on that side as well.
Yeah.
Blocking him off from doing the TMP, but it was an interesting thing to think about anyway, and something I was meaning to look up afterwards. But anyway. But then at the end of the game, then he teleported back over to try and kill my blob, and we had a blob off, and nothing was going anywhere.
Nothing happened. Too many
I was able to reserve move, tweak about, kill the squig hoppers, and then his Doomdiver killed itself at the end of the game. So and then the game ended there, and it was very small. It was a 12-8 win, that one.
Nice.
It was a small game. You'd say it would be boring when you looked at the matchup, thinking, "Wow, that's going to be a bore fest."
But it's a tactical thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're trying to figure out how to squeak points out of something without making a mistake, making a movement mistake and giving away points for free. So yeah, I thought it was quite. I enjoyed it.
A question for you, and it's been debated here and there. How was Travel Mystical Pathways played? Was it 12 inches basically anywhere, like the really far away, or was it inclusive kind of thing? So
it was the crazy way. Yeah, it was.
So you could basically move a massive blob like across the
yeah,
the basically.
The back part of your unit could go like 40 inches or something mad. It was crazy.
Okay, because that's the thing. It's a weird one kind of thing because there's no exact ruling proper.
Yeah,
no FAQ on it.
I know there's a lot of discussion about TMP online. People want it to be changed, nerfed, things like that. I think it's not necessary for this army or anything to work. What is necessary is taking reserve move. I take it twice. Take on my general
and then level 4.
It's super important to get reserve move off for this list and this army. I think very important. That's why. So I take it twice just in case. I could live without TMP. It's not the be all and end all. Yeah. It's a nice piece to get stuff boosted around. To get the unit a little bit closer to getting the maximum guys and to shoot for large targets. But big part of it is getting things like the Shapti out of the. I don't know if you can swear on this channel, but out of the pit. Getting your Shapti out of the shit. And I think if it's within 12, because your Shapti are, the unit's only a 5-man, I think it'll be fine. You can take advantage of it. Ruled the way it is at the moment. If places are playing it the way it's got to be within, but if it's wholly within, the blob will go nowhere. I don't think it's a big deal not having a TMP for this list anyway.
Yeah, reserve move is just helpful, really. Just
massive.
It's more just for the reform kind of thing. Like I've had it where I've spun on my turn to kill something, and then I've used my reform to do that, move my wizard to a different position, so he's not going to be hit by charge. You have to go as straight as possible. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So reserve move is massive. It was more of a defensive piece.
It can also let you leave a unit and join a unit in a turn kind of thing as well. It's
Yes, that's really strong. Yeah.
Yeah, you could because you can get your priests out of a unit, the blob move out, and then reserve move join the skirmishers. So which people can't do. So it's not that actually. No, you can't do it. You couldn't do that actually. You know that because I think the reserve move counter has been cast on the unit. I don't think the priests would benefit from it, would they, if they left?
Oh no, it's a reserve move. If you get on the big one, it's everything within your command range at that point gets the reserve move keywords.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be the unit that gets it? So if the wizard leaves, they leave the enchantment behind. Would that be the case?
The issue is because it's everything within the command range. If you get on the big one,
Yeah.
everything gets it. So like even if you had like a character on its own, it would get it as well.
Oh, you saying that it's a static aura?
It's an aura that it goes off in the command phase when you do the spell, and then everything inside your command range gets the reserve move special rule.
So the way I always played it was so the way I played it is that you cast it, and then everything that's in that area in your command range at the time of casting it
Gets the
gets.
reserve move, yes.
And then if you move away from the command range, they've still got it.
They still got it, yes.
Yeah, but not because not that I've got a chance to use it, but if you left the unit, because if you cast a buff or a negative on a unit, and then the character leaves, they don't keep that. They don't both get the negative or the buff, so the character would no longer have reserve move. I don't think.
Yeah,
Just saying, saying it out loud, then I don't think they would.
I think you're right, because obviously if the character was on his own already out, fine. But
Without
if he's
it, yeah.
in the unit at the time, then maybe not. Yeah, because the unit would have to. Yeah.
I don't think it would. I can't remember if I've ever done that. Then I don't think I have.
It's an interesting thought. So
maybe I have and I've cheated.
Yeah. So after day one, you've played a dragon, you've played an infernal puppet, you've played dwarves coming at you really fast, and another poison block. We are 3-0 going into day 2, which doesn't make come any easier. We are versus the Wood Elves. So we have the Glade Lord on a dragon, Talisman of Protection, Ogre Blade, a Befuddlement of Mischiefs, and Annoyance of Nestlings. Could you tell me what those two do?
I don't know which one's which, but one of them is -1 weapon skill if you're in base contact. The other one is -1 to hit and a challenge. I'm not sure which is which.
Oh, so the whole point is he's a challenge guy out versus other big stuff, and he can hit you, you can't hit him. He's got a level 4 Ruby Ring of Ruin, Battle Magic, and Oaken Stave Warhawk. Okay, it's just obviously that bit of movement faster. Oaken Stave.
I like that.
Oaken Stave is you're within 3 of all forests, you get +1 to cast.
No, if you're within 3 of all forests, you get +3 inches to your spell range, and I think you roll +1 dice to take the 2 highest.
Oh, so it's really a defensive piece there. It's kind of like a mini infernal puppet.
They call it the broken stave, so there you go.
And then another level 2, Law Familiar, Battle Magic, a Rapunzel of Luminescence. I'm not very good at English. So I'm guessing that Law Familiar is there is to, I think, take Fireball, or Pillar of Fire and something else, probably Fireball.
Yeah.
And then the Rapunzels of something, what does that do? Do you know what that does?
I think it gives you unit magical attacks.
Oh, okay. And then into the core units, the 5 Gate Guard that you have to take 2 units of Deepwood Scouts. So I think most people are taking these units of 8. 8 Glade Riders with the banner of Midsummer's Eve. Is that the Vanguard banner?
I think that's the Vanguard banner. I think
the one coming at you. Oh, big thing here. Only 2 Sisters of the Thorn. He's not meta chasing. He didn't take the 3.
Yeah.
And a Tree Man. So I'm guessing the Sisters of Thorn took Pillar of Fire. Pillar of Fire is their thing. So we've potentially got 4 Pillar of Fires here. So it's just this kind of.
But not 5. Not potentially.
Not 5. Not 5. He's a nice guy, this bloke.
Yeah.
And then a Tree Man. Tree Man, I think, is interesting. One of them, because obviously it's a large target, slow move, but he's pretty tough and pretty tanky and killy.
Yeah, a little backfield defender. He's like the linebacker.
Yeah.
Army.
So how did this go? How did this go versus this another dragon?
So the thing with this is the dragon's a lot easier to kill. It's a 4/5 up defensively with the 9 wounds. So
no triple saves. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to try and kill. But I was wondering, I wasn't sure going into it how he was going to play, whether he was going to be defensive or he was going to be aggressive, or knowing that the tactics of trying to chip away at me weren't going to work with the Wood Elves. Bits of shooting, I wasn't worried about that, but I was worried obviously if he gets the pillars of fire off and just throws them through me. In this list, I don't take the canopies thingy where it can end all the spells. It's usually one of my favorite items, but I couldn't really fit it in this. So that was a bit of a worry because he could then dance them through the tomb swarms and cause a bit of an issue there. But I could also if he plays defensively like that, I can also teleport mostly mid board and then have a level 4 within spell range for the next turn. So one of those. But
they're only banned level 2 from the Sister of Thorn, aren't they?
Yeah.
And he's got another level 2 that's got it. So you only have to beat his. You can roll one less than his roll, and you still stop it. So it's still quite. You're more in your favour.
Exactly. Well, I'm thinking if he casts it and just out of my dispel range and moves backwards to the corners, for example, and then just want to get within range and then stop it on the power level. Well, it casts on the 9 and stop it that way. But either way, I wasn't sure I was going to play, but we were playing a mission where it was the tower thing in the middle, so it's like worth 200 points. And in this, I wanted him to go first. So I maxed my drops out to make sure that I believe in this. I maxed my drops out because he should have how many there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think he had 7 drops or 8 drops there. So I wanted to try and outdrop him. I want him to outdrop me effectively, so he got the +1.
Yeah.
Because I want actually go first. That means at the last turn, if he throws something out to the middle, I can cheat and kill it. Basically,
yes.
If he was to play defensively, and I couldn't get to him any other way. But so I rolled up my spells. I got the one TMP, which is good, and then so he goes first. Doesn't do much damage with the chip bits, and then he moves his Warhawk into the trees. And he rolls a double 1 for his dangerous train, so takes a wound. That's super lucky to start with, but that's the way it's going to go. The first thing you do. I know
it's
that's
downhill from here, mate.
Yeah. But I like this Warhawk because it has evasive, so that he can just literally just sit in the forest a little bit and evade backwards if you try and shoot him.
So it's really tough to snipe out kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. Is it a skirmisher as well with the Warhawk?
Yeah,
like a Pegasus. Yeah. Okay, so that's
really
strong.
360. So I quite like that actually, as a mount. But he placed it in the forest bit, but he placed all his stuff behind the forests because he had a forest, and he put his own forest next to it, and he had everything just basically there. And he had his dragon and the sisters on the other side of the board with the 5 clay card.
Yeah.
So he had his little castle, and he put the Warhawk in a certain position where if I shot it from an angle near the side of the board and it evaded, it would go off the board. It'd go through all his models and go off the board. So I TMP'd up my Shapti on the side forward to do that, and it was like, well, I can't evade backwards. So he had the Oakham shield on for the 5+ sword. So I got one wound through, and he rolled the 5+ ward save to save him. So I was like, okay, but then he couldn't make that mistake again. But it was hard for him because there's not a lot of room back behind there from angles that I can try and get at. So I could get the next turn could get another angle and do the same thing, but only if he rolled a 6 on his thing. But you have to take the highest dice. So he was like, right, I need to roll a 5 or less. I can't chance taking another unit shooting. And he rolled the dice, and he rolled a 6.
Oh, mate, this is.
I was like, oh. And that got to level 4, which is huge, right? But also, he then moved up his dragon from the other side of the table super aggressively at me. He moved up towards the tower in the middle of the board, and I was on the other side of the tower. And I wasn't sure what he was going to do. I was like, he's going to sit around the tower and defend it, or is he coming full aggro at me? And then his turn 2, he went full aggro and threw it right across, and it was just sat next to me. But I put my priest in the skirmish unit, and he again was within miasma range. So I then got the dragon in miasma lock. It can't march, couldn't go anywhere, was fairly stuck. So I could just turn the block round and just shoot at him.
Yeah.
I didn't have Plague of Rust, or I couldn't see him actually. I can't remember if I had Plague of Rust or not. But either way, my block was facing the other way anyway, so I couldn't see him. But then I spin the block round and I just full pelt everything at him, which was only 5 a shot because the 5 were busy with the Warhawk. 5 a shot to the block, and I did 6 wounds, stood down to 3. But then obviously I know that in his go he can't go anywhere, so I moved my horsemen who were on my bottom left away from all the rest of my army. I moved them over so that he couldn't fly over those, so he's going to be stuck within the range of my
kind of thing.
And my archers, so that I didn't have to TMP my archers forward. I could just literally move forward 4 and shoot him. And for the next turn, and that's what happened. So they managed to get rid of the dragon. The dragon had gone, the level 4 had gone, and then it was obviously going to be a real tough uphill battle for him to get any points that way afterwards. So the rest of the game just was me trying to chase him around and just do a little bit of damage and just quick get away him that way. And he realised, obviously, with the Lord gone at level 4, he's like, okay, fair enough. So he threw the tree man out and was like, right, come here we go, let's go. He managed to get the long distance charge from his tree man on my Shakti, which had gone for his glade. Is level 4. So he charged those and killed him. Like,
I know it's bad. Should cheer, but he's got to have something.
Yeah, so he killed those. But he'd actually shot one of Shakti previously, I think, but because they were out of my healing range because of the play they were trying to make, that there wasn't a full unit. But yeah, so he killed those, and the game, and then eventually managed to kill the treeman afterwards, and the game ended a 19-1 on this one.
God, that's a big win. That 19-1.
Wait, because after the level 4 died and the dragon died.
Dragon, that's 700. That's 800 points nearly. Yeah,
exactly. And and obviously, what else don't have any saves apart from the toughest thing in the army is the Sisters of the Thorn.
Those fat four-weapon one, yeah.
Yeah, but because the rest, because they don't really have any saves, so my just little strength 3 bows and things like that just.
Skeleton horse archers just.
Yeah. They just peppered a unit of Sisters of the Thorn for 6 turns as well. The horse archers, they did it.
55 points. Come on. So a lovely 19-2. You're 4-0. You're going to the last game. I'm guessing this is for the win. Got to win it to have it. So you are up versus another dragon. We have got the lovely High Elves this time. This time versus more the unkillable dragon and a level 4 and just a load of shooting. So this dragon is a prince on a Star Dragon, Talisman of Protection, Dragon Helm, Seed of Rebirth, 2 times the Opal Amulet, so that's the 2-up ward once per turn, so obviously stop the monster slaying, etc. And a great weapon. So this guy isn't for killing, he's there to, I'm just not going to die, and then thunderstorms, my dragon can clear through stuff. He's got a level 4, who is on a Lothran Skycutter, so the flying chariot thing, Silvery Wand, Ruby Ring, Lawmaster's Cloak, Seed of Rebirth. I don't see why you wouldn't on every high elf character take one for a 5-up regen. And his battle magic, so obviously trying to get Pillar of Fire, Arcane Urgency, the normal kind of stuff you see. Then into his core, it looks like it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units of archers.
Just 6.
Just 6. Just 6 units of 8 archers. And then he has 2
Torrent chariots.
Chariots, thank you. Donner and Blitzen, I have no idea what they are real. And he's got a Prancer.
Skycutter.
Dancer, which is another Skycutter. Dasher, which is another Skycutter. And then 10 Sisters of Avalon. So this is a bit of a... I haven't played much with... I haven't played much with Elves in total, because local meta around here. But it's chariots, it's fast moving, it's shooting you from off range, chucks a big and killable dragon into you to stop you, hurt him, everything else. How did it go? What was the game plan again?
So in this one, I couldn't kill this dragon even if I played Rust. So this I was going to have to ignore the dragon, but the rest of his army was fairly easy to do damage to.
They're all T3, no save kind of thing.
And the Skycutter's 90 points. It's got 4 wounds, T4, 4-up saves. The Shakti can just...
Use Shakti for dreams.
Rip through those. And then I'm not worried about his shooting, really. So he has a lot of shooting. But, it's strength 3, long ranges, caskets and things like that. He's got good starting BS. After his hits, and he's not going to get many wounds through, and bits of saves here and there. He's going to do chip damage, which I can then heal back. So, but also he was very scared of the mortuary list. Wasn't a fan of it at all. So he deployed very defensive. He in fact deployed his entire army in a corner, and was deciding to start fighting from the corner. But his army's so big, he had to spread across the full table with the archers and things like that. He didn't have much room there, so he got all his big guys behind this house in the corner, out of line of sight, and then the rest of his archers were sort of spread around the table behind the hill and the the forest and also the house. So he got turn 1, and he was like, I've no idea. I don't know what to do. And then he just passed the turn.
Really?
And I was like, okay, yeah, but I don't. To be fair, yeah, we had a chat about it. I'm not sure what best play would have been, but if he was doing that, then I was like, is he going to do that for the entire turn and see if I make a positional mistake, or is he just going to sit and wait the game out there? Well, not quite sure. So in my turn, I went to move some stuff forward. He left some bits hanging out, like a chariot hanging out stuff, which was, he could have simply moved backwards a little bit. So he nudged a few things back to make sure that it wasn't just a non-event with that. And I killed, I think I killed a unit of 8 archers. I TMP'd up a little bit forward. The blob didn't need to go too far, just so I could use Reaper Ring when I remembered that I had it, and then a few archer shots, and then killed a unit of 8 high elves, and that was me. I just positioned a little bit. As he was in one corner, I was sort of mid board, but a little bit towards my other corner opposite him. I just sort of moved forward a little bit to face off, because we were going to eventually, if we move forward, create into the triangle deployment effectively. And then his turn 2, he just full sends everything forward over the house, throws the dragon 20 inches forward, arcane agencies it forward, and goes full aggro. And I was like, okay, right. So because he got the sky cutters out, I could then kill 2 of them with the Shakti. And move it so that I was out of range of his out of 19, 20 inches from his dragon, and out of line of sight for anything that was within range, because he was next to a forest. His dragon couldn't do anything there to me for a turn. I had the priest in the skirmisher block again in this one, ready for if his dragon flew over. So he then full sends his dragon over and sits next to my casket, which is also next to this priest. And again, I don't know if he was just trying to see if I didn't cast miasma or failed it, or we didn't know what it was or anything. But that meant that the priest then just miasma locked up the dragon.
And then at that point, you don't care about it. You let him have the 500 points, but you can't do anything for the rest of the game.
Exactly. Yeah. Then there's nothing else that's scaring my army a little bit. His level 4 was so far back as well that he was way out of dispel range. So I just kept my priest far back. So that his priest his level 4 wasn't going to risk dispelling miasma for me, and that just kept the dragon just sat there for the following 3 or 4 turns as I just tried to shoot bits of things. He then went back into hiding bits and just peppering at me. So he killed the 5 horse archers, sadly. I know. And then I gave him the 2 scorpions, which, in hindsight, I should have just hid. But I put one on one side to kill a tyrant chariot, and then try and kill 5 archers. And those 5 archers were the biggest pains in the asses ever. They killed the scorpion, and then the other one came on his backboard edge where he was castling originally, and he moved back his level 4 over that way to start positioning to be defensive and shooting me my Shakti and stuff. And I charged. My next go, I think he wounded the scorpion once with some shots. I charged the level 4's chariot, and he had the big bow on it there. And he killed me in the. I keep saying Overwatch in the
sand shoot.
I think he killed it. He got the 3 wounds through. I was like, okay. That bow's finally done something. So I was like, fair enough too. And the game kind of ended a bit there. There's a few more units of 8 archers died here and there. And ended a what was the score? Was it 12-8? I think it was a 12-8 in the end. I feel no. I'll check. But the game ended there. Not a massive amount of stuff really died, which ended at 12-8. So not a lot of stuff died because he had lots of small, less than 100-point units.
Yeah, just running about. He's got 1,000 points of characters that he didn't kill, but you killed enough. As you say, you killed off the bow, those eagle chariot things.
That's all I killed. I killed the 5 chariots, so the 3 sky cutters and the 2 Tyranics. one or two units of archers, and I got the level 4 down to like 2 wounds or something dangerous.
Oh.
But then he flew him and hid him away, and there was no chance of getting him. And he killed the unit of 8 skirmishers. They were protecting the priest with bits of shooting him and flames from the dragon, and the five horse archers. So not a lot really died in this game at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't a grinding game because he then decided to withdraw and hide back his stuff again.
Yeah.
And then he obviously killed. Oh, and he killed the 2 scorpions as well. Sorry, that's the kind of thing that made it the points up really. But yeah, good game. Again, he like he said, he struggled to think of what an out was for himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't really sure what to do from the get go. I was a bit worried about this dragon if it got in within stuff and I couldn't might as well lock it, but
but
full whack. So
yeah, I think that's the massive thing is a good player needs to just measure 15, or just be like, oh, it's 15.1. We both agree. Just be like, he's not getting my item a lot. Because then at that point, it just changes the game. Yes, you can call him a crystal and try and down there, but he has a chance of getting rid of that. May not be a high chance, but when my item's gone, it's a straight, don't care about you now. See you later, mate.
Yeah, once it's on there, you're fine. The problem with the Colma crystal, it said, is someone could dispel it, and that's always a worry, isn't it?
I've always had that. It always seems to happen to me with that.
Double 6, like, oh.
Yeah. So that's day 2. 5-0. Fantastic. So let's go have a debrief and see what it will change. So Andy has finished A2. He's won both games. He is 5-0. He is the undefeated champion at the TSN. So obviously it's a great list, piloted by a great player. What didn't you like about the list, or what were you like, I need to add this in kind of thing? Is there any changes you're thinking about?
So I like the list. It was well rounded. It had all the tools. It was a toolbox list. I described it as well a bit of like I don't know if you ever played Magic the Gathering, but like as a blue-white control deck.
Yeah.
It was trying to control the tempo of the game. It was fast, jumpy, bits of spells. Now, people complain obviously about the spells of Orchard Court. Like, oh, you're casting at +8 and things like that. But you're not doing any damaging spells apart from the Blast. It's all spells that buff the rest of the army that doesn't do a lot of damage to make it do damage.
Yeah.
Again, not crazy amounts of damage, but chips with Plagues of Rust and things like that. It also makes the army move about a lot, so it's hard to get to grips with.
We're a very fast-moving army for being.
Oh yeah, very fast.
An army that isn't allowed to march.
Yeah, an army can't march, but can just move super fast. Because the reserve with all the reforms and things you can doing and turns and it's a super fast army and annoying to get hold of as people and opponents and would say. So for the army wise, it was good. So it was good for that sense. So I won't change any of the core of the army, but I'd probably change up the makeup of the items.
Yeah.
I will be honest, I kept forgetting Ruby Ring. I kept forgetting I had it, which was surprising because I said I have it on the red guy, the priest that was painted red.
Yeah.
To try and remember.
Fire guy.
And I forgot it a lot of the time, which is bizarre. So that tells me I can happily go without it.
Yeah. It wasn't a make or break.
Yeah, which makes you think, what would I use the 35 points for?
The now remains in place item?
Potentially, yeah. I like that item a lot, again, because it's a part of the controlling aspect of the list. But having the Ruby Ring for the extra damage can also be nice when there's units plague or rusted. So it's like, it's a tough one.
Strength 4, 2d6 automatic hits, AP -2. We cast it at +3 if you buy the casket. You get +1 to ground spells. So
exactly. So when you say it out loud, it's like, that sounds really good. But I don't know how I have this mental block, but I always forget it. Anyway, I would change the makeup of the Illusion Priest. I'd put the Amulet of Poison on, I think, the BSB, and have him in the unit, because a lot of the time I have that illusion guy.
He's got to keep moving to
catch
up that dragon kind of thing. Yeah.
So keeping them in the blocks and stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to think about how I'd arrange some of the things there. But I don't think I'd change anything else. I think I'd leave the other bits in as they are. And yeah, just one casket. I toyed around with dropping the casket and trying to fit in a dragon on there as well, which I really quite tempted by because I like the dragon priests.
You'll have to drop another, maybe a Ushabti in each unit, so 4s to get that extra 80 points that you need.
I drop the musician from the skeleton block. I drop one Ushabti and the ruby ring, the casket. I think that gets it in.
It's only 195, I think. So yeah, it's not too
much.
195.
Yeah,
you just get 60 points bar the casket, basically.
Yes, you don't have to drop a massive amount, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to play around with it. I'd feel like I might lose a bit of the core of the army because the units of 5 Ushabti were the biggest part of the game for me. A lot of the time,
it's just the reliability, the amount you should like on average get 2.5, maybe 3 kind of thing. And they insta kill chariots. There's toughness 4 chariots. Because they're wounding on 2s. They just go through. They're 2 damage each.
Exactly. Yeah. So they help massively. They're just so good and reliable. Hitting on 4s, running 1s. The range is massive. And on the movement 5 body as well, because most of the army's movement 4 with the skeletons. So yeah, I don't really want to drop any of those. I also don't want to make the units bigger. Like I don't want to make them bigger than 5 because 5 was just the right size for moving them about.
Yes, and not being in the reforming and fitting in.
I played games where I had like an 8-man unit as a core block, and it was just too big and unwieldy. Yeah. The 5-mans were fine just for sitting at either side of the block most of the time. But yeah, so mostly it's just the makeup of the items of the unit. So I have to keep jumping in, like jumped about the characters. So yeah, I don't know if I just change. I also want to try out different versions with double dragon and stuff. I'm obsessed with dragons, but
they're the coolest model of the year. 100% that dragon model.
But anyway, as a list goes, it's a very good all rounder. So for the Watcher Court sort of competitive list, as it were, I prefer this to the leadership bombing and any other real version, I suppose. If you're having an uncomped event, comped events to change it massively. Like you're going to the Welsh events, aren't you? With the comp.
There's the objective missions where you have to actually go out. You can't just be controlling, and you've got to have unit strength 10, all this kind of jazz. So yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I like this as it is. Really, I have to change a bit about. I also have the different versions of the army itself, like the Royal Cohort, Mega 110 skeleton block.
110 it wasn't it? 110, yeah.
110. Well, no, it's 107 actually. I had 97 archers and 10. What's this? But I literally have that. I have that on this desk here, arrayed around in front of me. All these little bits of skeleton. So as you can probably see here. So these are all being painted up, and they're in these boxes over there. But that list is a bit of a meme. Obviously,
it's hilarious, mate.
It's ridiculous. People think it's it's like it's super silly list, and it is silly. It's definitely not unbeatable at all. But I think if I'd took something like that this weekend, I don't think it wouldn't have won the tournaments. It would have struggled in some of the matchups, especially if people clock on to kill the priests and stuff at the back, and if they can't go on the back and kill the priests, they're going to be in the unit, and once the unit's locked up, no more healing, and you just literally going to be running through those modules.
And a big thing with that is you can't. Myers Mirage seems like a big thing for you this tournament. Locking up the high elf priest, like the high elf prince. You wouldn't be able to done that with the cohort more reliably because obviously you're a level 2. Yes, you can take power scrolls and a lore familiar, but you're probably wanting the TMP lore familiar to make sure you can actually move this block about.
Yeah.
And it's just not reliable. Whereas obviously a +8 is massive for that. Mirage.
Yeah, that's it. So you're literally just going all elementalism for for that one turn of power scrolling TMP, aren't you? So I had 3 priests in the version I was running, 1 illusion, literally for glittering robe, and he had a power scroll for that big turn where you need you're accepting a charge, for example, and then another power scroll on a little familiar element as a guy for the TMP for again just a 1 turn where you're going to get it off. It's a cool list, but it's definitely it's not going to be winning loads of tournaments.
Yeah.
It's not got the reliability factor. People, you catch people out with it because it's a lot of people like, oh, do you kill 110 models plus 3
keeps coming back.
That keeps coming back. But if anyone's got any sort of speed or anything about their list, then they get round to the back and they can get to your
Wood Elf could quite.
Yeah, the Wood Elf list or anything with a dragon that could survive 97 skeleton archer shooting, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a nice concept list, but I probably wouldn't actually take it to an event.
And you need 110 skeletons, and they are a bastard to build.
Yes. Yes, it took me so long to build these skeletons. I was like, I can't paint these now.
It is soul destroying. But at least you get to ruin someone else's day when you play it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's a lot of people get a bit negative feelings about playing an army like that. So it's I did take it to this practice. So it was meant to be like a 1-day tournament, and it ended up being loads of dropouts and ended up being just about 6 people, I think, in the end. So I ended up just playing a few games. I took it to that, not reading the room very well, I suppose, with it. But so I played a few games against people, and they didn't be like, oh, this wants me to quit the game and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad of a time because they just get to see what it was like, what it was about, throwing units at it, what happens, and sort of got to know about the armor list that way, and then obviously the first time I got to sort of play with it on the table and see what it's like. But yeah, it was silly.
It's just not a logistical army to play.
No, it's not an army you take at all. I don't think you'd really see it seriously at a tournament that don't do well.
You can do it at Warhol, which is fine, but in person, it's going to be a bastard to deal with.
Yeah, and you end up with this doormat movement tray like I've got over here. I had to make a movement tray that would so I had to magnetize all the models for it. So this will show how serious that. So this is the movement tray. This is a magnetized movement tray.
It's massive, mate.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But no, well, thank you very much, Andy. It's great to have a chat to you about your 5-0 win at the TSN with a very, very strong Mortuary Cult list. As we've had a lovely chat today, we can obviously see, I think Mortuary Cult is the route to go down to. It's more competitive. You've played it very much controlling. It's a jack of all trades. It can deal with loads of different things. It's dealt with dragons. It's dealt with other poison blocks. It's dealt with tough dwarves coming at you. So it shows it can deal with most things that chuck at you. Obviously, there's some things you didn't play against, but I'm sure if you ran into ogres, you would love it, kind of thing, just chewing up them. So, yeah, it just shows how good of a list it is. And as I said, Andy's a great player. I just remember playing him in LGT, and he just measured 15 constantly and just had fun with me.
Oh yeah, you had the illusion miasma piece, didn't you?
And you played it properly. You just 15.1. Oh, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I couldn't stop measuring 15. Like, would you put that 15 inches down?
All right, mate, you've won already. But no, thank you very much, Andy. As I said, please go have a look at his kind of podcast show he does with his mate, The Old World Show. Link will be in the description. So, any last words, Andy?
No, thank you for having me on, Brendan. It's always lovely having a chat. And we'll get some games in the Warhol at some point.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. Ta-ra.